Hello and welcome to Fire in the Valley. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by the Karen McDermott. Good evening to you.
Hello, Jay. Thanks for having me. It's so good to come and join you on Fire in the Belly.
Listen, thank you. Thank you. Is Fire in the Valley, is that something you have?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It fuels me for sure.
In bucket loads, I'm sure. So tell us, Karen, give us a bit of a background. Who are you? What are you doing? Where are you from?
Well, I currently live in Western Australia, in Perth, Western Australia. I'm so fortunate and blessed to live here because we are pretty much living day-to-day life normally at the moment. I waddled here 12 years ago, 35 weeks pregnant with my third daughter. We knew nobody here. So I'm originally originally I was born in Monaghan, in Clonus in County Monaghan, and then we moved to a mile over the border into County Fermanagh, and that's where I went to school and lived there, and I adore it. So I love getting back home as much as I can. I host retreats in a castle to get me home, and because I'm now a mum of 6 children, and I have 4 businesses as well. So I'm a bit of a busy bee, but I live my passion, so it's never a chore.
Okay, hit us with it. What is your passion?
Well, it is writing and publishing, sharing stories with the world. And I discovered that when I landed in Perth, I started writing stories for my children. Um, Firstly, to teach them about the animals here, like redback spiders and snakes and things like that. So I wrote little poems and drew little pictures with them. I started to, and I also discovered the job buddies, alphabet job buddies, and they're starting to really get published now, which is really interesting. But then I wrote a novel that changed my life, and that was when I just had my fourth child. We were here about 2 years, and that that was a big pivot for me. So I seen the power of the written word in that. I seen the power in the written word for what it did for me, to share the story, and then what it did for others to read the story. Like, it's words are powerful. Words can, when somebody reads them at a specific time in their life when they need to, it actually shifts what's happening with them. It gives them an answer that maybe their heart longs for, just like it did for me.
Why, I mean, would you say that the written word is more powerful than the spoken word, or where do you lie with that?
No, 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 not whatsoever. But I do know that whenever somebody's reading a book, you have their undivided attention. There's no distractions, because when somebody chooses to sit and read a book, they're really connecting with the words that the authors put down. So, like, just like we're watching TV, we can do other things. Watching a video, we can do other things. I know I do. I can watch. Somebody could be watching or listening to this, but they're doing other things. But when somebody's reading a book, um, they're reading it for a purpose, to either educate and learn, to maybe relax and recharge, to escape into another world, or they're sitting with the child on their lap and reading a book to them, or there's all of these beautiful scenarios that that books bring into people's lives. So that's why I'm so passionate about books. It's just my thing.
It's a lovely way of doing it. And I suppose it's you can immerse yourself straight into somebody's mind because they're reading your words and their language and their tone and their reflection. So,
You get
yes.
to know somebody in a book, because if you're writing your story, you can't hide anywhere. You got to show up in there. You got to be authentic, or the reader just will not engage. They just really won't. And another thing about books, whenever you become an author, there's authority in that, because it takes a few really key things to become an author. First of all, you have to have courage, because quite often it's like running around naked in the streets. You're exposing yourself. So quite often an author will go through some inhibitions when they start to write their story. And it's best that they go through inhibitions then, because then they're dealing with them and saying, okay, I understand, but I'm going to do this anyway. Or they run away. It's one or the other. That usually happens around the beginning, and then the story, then you really have to stay true to your story, or to whatever you're writing, to get it finished, because there's usually always a bit of a block in the middle, or something has to reveal itself, or you know and then some people overthink, what they're, oh, have I written the right thing, or start to overthink it, whereas what you're writing is exactly what you're supposed to be writing, and it may evolve into something, but your first draft is your first draft. It's the bones of what you need to write, and then you can revisit it. So I always say to people, never stop the flow of your first draft, because that is where the magic, the golden nuggets come in, and then you can revisit it with in the second draft and give it the muscle, So that's just, I just adore the writing process and watching people evolve through it, because it is an evolution. And then whenever you go into publishing, like, that's a whole nother world as well. So when an author finally becomes an author, a published author, they deserve any accolade that comes with that, or any recognition, because they've stuck it out to make it happen. So, kudos to all of us. Hey.
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a fascinating process. And do you think, I mean, are you capable of it at any time, or do you think there's, you come to a natural point in whether it's an experience or journey or a point in your life that actually now is a good time to do it? What's your sort of thoughts on that?
It's a call. It's a
Okay.
call that you can't ignore. And that comes at different times. Like, my call to write my novel was when I was watching what I was watching The View. I never watched daytime TV, and I was watching The View, and because I'd been through a double miscarriage, and my heart always ached for it, and I never knew why. The doctors just tell you to get over it and move on. That I like to know why for me, not for anybody else, but why for me. So I never had my answer, and I emigrated to Australia. I was really happy and living my, a beautiful life. And then this moment was the biggest epiphany in my life. And I couldn't ignore it, because it was like I just got hit with something so powerful. And I had this urge then to share that story. Like, when it was Whoopi Goldberg had a celebrity TV couple in on the show, and they had had a miscarriage, and it was very public miscarriage. And the woman was obviously still very distraught and emotional. And Whoopi just turned her back to the camera. She didn't care. She was live on TV. She just said, "I'm going to tell you something that I tell all of my friends when this happens. This is a visitor that came to tell you to get back on the right track in life. And when you do, your gift will come." And I was like, "Oh, that's why." Because I had been on the wrong track. Everything was going wrong. My cars would break down, you know, jobs wouldn't, everything was going wrong for a whole year. I was going through post-traumatic stress as well at the time for a whole year. I was like in a cocoon. So I was a person who was so vibrant, so out there. So I'd walk into a room, I'd just light it up. And all of a sudden, I dropped into myself and started to, but I'd done so much inner work in that year. So it wasn't a year wasted. But when I had this wake-up call 2 years later, I was like, I have to share this with people, because if people understand this and read this. So I wrote a blog. That wasn't enough. And then I got called to write a novel, and I wrote the novel in 30 days, 1,667 words a day for 30 days. And I had a 50,000 word novel. Now, 2 days before the NaNoWriMo started, which is the National Novel Writing Month, I did not know what I was going to write about. I just knew it was going to be called The Visitor. And but this story just it just came out of me. So it came from somewhere, and I read it now and I go, wow, did I write that? That's really interesting. I don't know where it came from, but it was real calling to it. It was very powerful, and I couldn't ignore it. It was really powerful.
That's fabulous. I mean, to feel that and to know and to be able to almost to point to the moment makes it extra special. I mean, was that just was that fate for you, or was that just it was supposed to happen at that time, or what do you think? All
Well, I worked in mental health for 4 years before I ever had PTSD. And one of the things that I learned that fascinated me was that when you're called to share your story, it's one of the final stages of healing. So, and like, it must have been, I looking back now, because hindsight is the most wonderful thing in the world. You can look back and say, yeah, I was ready to process everything and release it, because when we go through trauma, we're not ready to deal with the trauma then. We're in survival mode. So we're not ready to heal and do the inner work that we need to. There's always a reason that quite often there's always a reason that something happens to us, and we grow through it. But when we go through it, we're not ready to do the work. We usually go into survival mode and suppress it, but it has to come out sometime. And I chose not to spend a lifetime suppressing and keeping things down. I decided to take the lid off and see what happened. And through writing, I released. That's I didn't expect to. I just felt called to write a story. I didn't know the therapeutic thing that it would be to actually write it out. And yes, you feel things and things rise that you don't expect to, but it's not that you're going to feel them and bed them down again. You actually feel them and release them, and you feel lighter. It's the most amazing experience, and I want everyone to know the power in that, of releasing it, and any resentment goes, or any pain starts to release and makes you feel lighter. It's an amazing experience, and I see whenever people go through it, it's just wow.
How, just out of curiosity, as a publisher in that, I mean, how much of that is, that releasing process? How much is it for the benefit of the person, and how much of it is the benefit for the sort of the public out there? I mean, is there a line, or is it? Where do you see?
Well, we're talking first drafts here, Pete, because it's when you're writing a first draft, you let it all out. And like, not everybody's going to be writing their life story, but we're talking about life stories here. I wrote my novel was fictional, but my story was woven through it, and I was still exposing because people knew that I was Carrie. You couldn't, but it was like, it was still, I was still releasing that. But whenever, and I've seen this many times, I've published hundreds and hundreds of books, and I've helped a lot of people through the process. And I'm like, just let it out. Everything that's going to come out has to come out, because it brings you to the next thing that has to come out. And when you revisit it, you have a different hat on. You say, does a reader need to know that? So in the whole of the story, does the reader need to know that? And if not, cut it out, And editors are amazing at that, because like, I write lots of books. I wouldn't publish lots of books if I didn't have amazing editors. I can weave a story. My maiden name is Weaver. And that's the thing, is that I can share stories, but editors are the ones that make it amazing. So I have it relaxes me to know that it's not just me writing this and then sending it out into the world. I have the freedom just to let it all out, what needs to come out, and then it can be whatever needs to go to the reader. The book that comes out first is different than the book that goes on the shelf.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's a process, right? And it's process for good. All it seems it can be extremely cathartic, and then if it can be tailored correctly, then it can be very, useful to readers as well.
Well, one of the things is, for me, like, I'm in the publishing industry and I adore people, and I'm blessed that people adore me. But I think it's because, like, I come from an author perspective and a publisher perspective. I'm really ambitious and I like to learn things. And I had a negative self-publishing experience with my first book, and it led me into publishing, and a bit of serendipitous things happened as well that led me into signing up with a publisher. And I said, well, if I get a publisher account with the new arm that just opened up in Australia, well, then I'm supposed to help people share their stories. And that was, that was way back in 2014, and I haven't stopped since. So, I've been publishing books and publishing a lot of them since. There was something I was going to say there. It'll come back to me, and I'll I'll remember it.
I love it, but that sort of cathartic, that sort of letting it out, letting it go, but and imagine there's a lot of passion and energy comes with that, which I'm sure the reader picks up on, that actually that can translate through.
That is the thing. And I remember what I was going to say there. I was going to say that my studies were not in publishing. My studies were in humanities, and with the University of Ulster. I studied humanities. So that is, so I think that bears relevance on how I do life, because like, I had a local university here in Perth call me in to their writing and publishing department to find out how I did things. And the head of the department said, so Karen, where's your studies? And I was like, well, I studied humanities. And he went, oh, okay, you do things differently. And I was like, yeah, because authors go on a journey. and especially new authors. Like, you know, it's different for authors who are authors all the time, who are disciplined and who are really focused and have, you know, have found their flow and found their voice and are showing up in that. It's, you know, it's something that people commit to, and that's fine. But new authors, whenever they start out on a authorship journey, it's it's a really personal transformational thing. And just like with any kind of transformation, you can't just be thrown in there into the wolves, you know what I mean? Because it's going to bring up things and stir things, and you're going to have inhibitions, and you're going to, you know, be feeling, you know, imposter syndrome and all of these things and want to give up. But to help someone get through that, you need to have their back and be there to just take a call and just to reassure them that this is totally normal. People feel this all the time. Authors feel this all the time. Process what's come up for you, release it, and then get back to it. You know, you set an intention. It takes work to make an intention happen. So let's just get to it, get back to the, you know, so the supported thing. Whenever I went through my first self-publishing journey, there was no support. It was just, I signed up, I paid money out of my family bank account to get published, and then it was a book in my hand. That's it. That was it. There was nothing. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do here, you know? I was really disappointed. But then I, I, I had a quote at the beginning of that book that I didn't know that would be the essence of that book, was that from every negative situation is the potential for a positive outcome. So I sat and I thought, well, what is this? Because there's a lot of a process around my publishing, you know, journey. So I learned a lot of the stepping stones to getting published, and I'm very curious. So I always ask questions and stuff. I think they were glad to get rid of me and I realized that it was like I was being coached to be a publisher, because I was learning every single step along the way. And I done some research and I found out who the print and distribution channel were that this company used, and they had just opened up an office in Australia. And that was the serendipitous moment. Like in that very month, they opened up an office in Australia, and I was like, okay, I hear you, I'm coming. So, and that's the thing. And it makes my heart sing. Like I am always going. Like I wake up in the morning and it's either writing or publishing. I absolutely adore what I do, because it's my purpose, it's my calling. I could never have ever pinned that down in secondary school. Like nobody in my family is an author. In English class, Mr. Jones and me did not get on. You know, so I was never one of I would not read in class, Pete. I would not read. I couldn't read, you know, because I had this thing where my face would go so red, I think I would be about to explode. And now I speak in front of hundreds of people on stage. But the reason why I do that now is because I'm on a mission to have stories be told. So it's not about me, it's about the mission. So it's not me really on the stage, it's what my calling is on the stage, to have people just to change things for themselves, make different choices.
I mean, talk to me a bit about Mini, Karen.
Money?
Mini, small version.
Of what?
When you were little, yeah, Mini you.
Little. Oh my goodness. Um, poor Emma. She was a year and a half younger than me. Emma is my sister, who you have had on here in Fire in the Billy. Um, well, I was born. I was born after a miscarriage, would you believe? And I was a month late coming out. So can you imagine my poor mother and father? They were just waiting to hold their child, and here I wouldn't come out, you know, like a month late. So I eventually came out, and I was just loved and just knew nothing but unconditional love. Whenever I think of my childhood, that's all I feel and know, was that I was absolutely unconditionally loved. Because I was the first, I was allowed to explore, go on adventures, find out things. So I always had this freedom, but I always had like the safety net of support. You know, if I grazed my knee, I could run back and get that hug, you know, just to say, it's all right, come on, you're fine. So I always had you know, I always felt supported to go out there into the world and explore and discover, and I loved it. You know, I was always so curious, so adventurous, you know, and I just loved learning. You know, I loved experiencing things, and that's still me. You know, I love to experience new things, and I think that's why publishing and authorship suits me, is because no 2 days are the same. You know, I'm one of these kids that gets bored easily. I have to be interested in something. It was the same all through school. If I wasn't interested in something, I would just be so bored. It would just be so mind-numbingly boring. I was always friends with everybody, you know. I remember, and my mum always talks about this, is that in Clonus, in one of the schools, the gypsies would come into town, you know, and the gypsies would be in the school for a few weeks, you know, when they were in town and stuff. And I'd always end up with the gypsy beside me, because I would be the friend and show them around, and and we always had the best of crack, you know. It'd be so fun. I'd be thinking everybody else is losing out, but I would just be friends with everybody. You know, I didn't see, I just seen everybody the same, and I still do. That's still now. I think, come on, everybody, whatever you want, you can have. Let's come on, everybody, get on. Do you not see it? Am I the only one that's seeing the possibilities here? So I choose to lead and just show what I can do, and if people choose to do that for themselves, well, then that's wonderful. It's absolutely fabulous.
What's your earliest conscious memory?
This is me, 4 years old, double pneumonia in Drogheda Hospital, and my mum and dad and granny leaving me there, and they had bought me a tea set, and I did not care about the bloody tea set. I wanted I wanted my mum and dad, you know, and they tricked me to get out, because they hung around until I really need to go to the toilet. And so I had to go to the toilet, and when I came out, they were gone. And I threw the biggest tanty, you know, I really threw the biggest tanty. But in those days, Drogheda was a long way from Clonus, and I was really very sick. You know, I had double pneumonia, not just in one lung, I had both lungs. So I was really very sick. But you were just left in Drogheda, you know, and your parents were only coming down like once a week or something, you know, whereas these days, if one of our kids was in hospital, you would be there by their bed all the time, you know. That's the thing. So it was a different time then, but I survived with no long lasting lung effects, you know. I've never had anything wrong with my lungs after.
Mm.
Mm.
Curious, a bit of a random question, but have you been here before?
I believe so. I was told I was a Russian Mustaf by a really interesting lady one time that I didn't even ask her. And a male, yeah, a male Russian Mustaf. And I was like, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. I remember getting, you know, those furry hats that go around, you know, the Russian hat things, a black one of those randomly, and arrived in our house, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it when I was a child. I used to wear it, you know, this blooming hat. And I can't even imagine what it looked like. Thank God there's no pictures of it. But, you know, I remember absolutely loving this hat. But yeah, I know I have been, and I know I will be again, but that's fine. You know, I'm here to enjoy this lifetime.
Were you skipping into school or skipping out of school then at that time?
Skipping out, you know. Like we lived in the country. Whenever you talk about school, I think of secondary school, you know, but it's like we lived just the other side of the checkpoint. We had to go through the checkpoint every morning going to school, and we got the Ulster bus. I mean, I used to have to walk down from our house, which was half a mile down the road to the end of the road to catch the bus to school at like 6:30 in the morning or 7 o'clock or something. Well, it felt really early, you know, and Ireland's quite dark at, you know, at that night, that time and stuff. But um I never minded the bus rides. The bus rides were always fun. I was down the back of the bus gang, you know. You were allowed to smoke in those days at the back of the bus too. So I liked the bus journeys. We had so much fun. We had a nice little clique there. But I started secondary school at the front of the bus, a really good girl talking to the bus driver. And within a few years, I was down the back with everybody. You know, it was funny. But yeah, that's the fun memories of school I remember, is the bus rides. We ruled the bus. And we used to play cards and everything, and I used to clean everybody up. I used to used to win all the time. Like, Karen's not playing today. We don't have enough money to beat her.
I have this vision of it, this chain smoking teenager hustling, pulling the cards. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just for that half-hour bus ride, you know. opposite. You know, it wasn't. I never did it outside of that scenario. That was
Uh,
totally right. Skirt rolled up as well, you know, and socks up to the knees. Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
that
sort
was
of
me.
you found the rules, and then you thought, yep, we'll just go that little bit further.
Mm. I was just so bored in school. Nothing give me nothing satisfied my brain. Nothing engaged me. You know, and I do remember one incident in maths class, and the maths teacher's daughter was so smart. You know, she was so smart. I never really applied myself to much things, but there was this one day where we had a riddle. It was about Sherlock Holmes and something about an elevator or whatever, and everybody in the class, you know, I was like, oh, you know, but then I was just sitting there and I knew the answer, and he was like, do you know the answer, Karen? I was like, yeah. And is this what is it? And I said it, and he was like, okay. I never seen that side of Karen before. Can you stand up and turn to everybody and just say, elementary, my dear Watson? Nobody else got it. I was the only one that got that conundrum. It's very bizarre. But you know, I was always really, I never knew that, you know, physics and the quantum world were an option for me. You know, that was all so beyond where I thought I would ever that my brain could ever go. And that was a limiting belief because God, if I had studied physics in school, I would have had a ball, you know, I really would have really enjoyed it. But here I was stuck in cutting up eyeballs and stuff like that. None of that, you know, that didn't do it for me, the old biology stuff. But yeah, it was interesting. And like school is always such a big part of your life, but like I've just moved on so much from all of that, you know what I mean? Like I went straight into a job, a paying job, and that really satisfied me to go and do things and be paid for it and go, you know, and have that independence and to be able to make choices about what you invest in and then getting my first car and all of those things. And then I was a young mum as well. I was engaged when I was 18, and then I had my first child when I was 19. So, um, and I was very sensible then, you know, I was such a mummy, you know, but I was always the eldest of six, so I was always a mom, you know. So, and now I'm a mom of six, you know, and it's the best thing in the whole world, you know, that's the thing. And I have it more together with six than I did with two, Pete. So anybody, I always say to people with two, I'm like, well, you know, keep going. It gets easier. How many kids do you have, Pete?
I have three, so it's like right now I'm getting cold sweats. The thought of going
Good.
to six is like, fair play. I tip
Yeah,
my hat to
five's
you for
enough
that.
because six is.
So, what did Karen want to do when she
Oh,
grew up? What was the original plan?
didn't know. Never knew. That's what I said. I never connected with anything. And one of the things I also want to be happy. And that was instilled in us by my mum because she would always say, whatever, just be happy. Make sure you're happy. You know, that's all she ever used to say to us. Whatever, just make sure you're happy. And that was a priority, you know, happiness was a priority in our house. Like, what a blessing is that, you know? No matter what you do, just make sure you're happy doing it. But sure, I never knew, you know, what I wanted to do because I wasn't ever. I remember I went back into adult education. I actually had a really big job in a factory where I was head over the high risk department. And I'd made myself way up into into the head rankings in this factory. But it wasn't aspirational. I just ended up there. I was getting paid really well, but it didn't align with my values because Dylan, who's my eldest, was going to primary school and there was shift work. So it meant, and I had my own little house and I loved it. It was a brand new little house. I loved it so much. But I would have to lift him out of bed in the morning and drive him out to my mom's where he would get the school bus to school. Or I would have to pick him up late at night. And, you know, and I was missing bringing him to school and picking him up and things like that. And that's why I do what I do now. This is how I found my own passion, is because I wasn't going to do that the next time round. I'm going to be a present mom, but I'm still going to be ambitious. I'm still going to, you know, see where life takes me. But in that time, then I ended up doing the biggest thing. I just left my job, I trained somebody else up because they were like, you can't just leave. We can't do without you, you know. I was like, okay, well, I'll stay to train somebody up, and I have to go. So I signed up for a course at the University of Ulster, and I done that for 4 years. But I also worked part-time in an interior design shop, which I absolutely loved as well. So, and then I got another job then in the mental health um, setting as well. So I absolutely loved it. Loved, all juggling all these hats. I loved it so much, and yeah, it was really cool. And it worked. It just worked for me at the time.
It's quite a swing. So creativity is obviously quite a strong thing for you. Mental health then is quite a thing, which is creativity and mental health, are they intrinsically linked for you, or what sort of led?
We'll see, is it creativity or is it just a passion to share story? And like that's the thing, like writing is when I went back into adult education, I love the English literature that was, that was shared in there and stuff like that. And history, I love the history. Um, but I love playing with words, but I still would not have even thought about writing a book. That was not even a possibility. But yeah, one of the things is I have my own philosophies in life, and I live life by my values and my philosophies. People always ask me, what are your philosophies in life? And that's why I set up my own Life Magic with KP Weaver group, where a lot of people come and hang out and I share my life philosophies. I'm writing the Life Magic series. It's going to be a big documentary about it, because my 7 life principles are mindfulness, knowing, intention, gratitude, love, forgiveness, and belief. And those 7 principles are really important, I feel, if you really want to live a life filled with life magic. And I call it the Alchemy of Life Magic series, because alchemy means, and the meaning of alchemy that I love is that it's creation, creativity, and transformation together. It's a process of creativity and transformation in anything that you apply it to. So I choose to apply it to life magic. And I don't talk about magic as in pulling a rabbit out of a hat kind of thing. I'm talking about feeling that magical essence of life, feeling alive, jumping out of bed in the morning and just not want that. And it's there for us all to have if you just learn to relax and enjoy life, and not, because we overcomplicate things so much. Like there's nobody that does more. I'm the busiest person I know, but everything that I say yes to, I love doing. There's so many opportunities there. Like I've done more in my 43 years than a lot of people have done in 2-3 lifetimes. But I'm going to keep going and enjoying and seeing how far I can get, as long as I'm happy doing it. But I know my ultimate goal is I'm going to be in a nice house in a hill with a bay window overlooking really nice view, and I'm going to be writing my heart out, because I have like 20 covers of books sitting waiting to be written. So I have lots to do and I write with my kids on school holidays is my writing time as well, because I'm in a different mindset. I go into a different creativity mindset, whereas in the terms I work really publishing. We do a lot in between the terms, but I've been doing that now for 4 or 5 years, and it really works well for me to work that system, because it means that I stop, recharge my batteries, fill my soul cup, then get back to it. So it's like there's three breaks of 2 weeks, and then there's the 6-week break. So I do that every single year, and it's how I always look like I'm on top of my game, is because I stop in those points and I don't apologize for it. You'll see me at the beach all the time. That's where you'll find me. Yeah.
I love that expression, you fill your soul cup, and it's true. I mean, it's, you can only give out for so long before you've got to put back in again. And that's something, just whether it's the 5 a.m. club or whether it's the, sort of do it till you die type strategy, doesn't, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, humans just aren't necessarily built that way, do you think?
I think that a lot of people are in search of things
Mm.
that work, that they see working for somebody else, so they apply it to themselves. But it's not going to apply the same to you as it does to somebody else, because, and the reason why is there's no one size fits all. We are all individual beings, and what we need to do is go inside and see, well, this is how I like to do things. This is my values. This is my priorities in life. And this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to do it. And does that work for it? Well, yes or no. So for me, my days start the best when I wake up at 5 a.m. and I write. That's when those are my best days. I absolutely adore it. And I've committed to writing 365 days of the year this year. And I've brought people along for the ride. We have my writing accountability group, and everybody comes in every day underneath the post and writes what they're writing. And people are writing 5,000 words a day and stuff. It's really motivated them and stuff like that. And others writing 500-600. But people are just coming along for the ride, and it's so much fun. High vibrational, I like to hang out at a high vibration, because when life happens and shit days happen, we're human, you know. You don't fall too far. You don't fall down to a rock bottom because you're at a high vibration. You just drop a bit and come back up. You just catch your breath, come back up. But there's too many people in this world, too many good people in this world going around on empty feet. And that's the thing. That's one thing I need people to realize is stop, just stop and take some time for you, because you are important. You can't sacrifice all of yourself for others. You've got to put you first, keep your cup full, and then you can keep giving all you want, keep giving that way. I always stop to make sure, like, for example, coming up to Christmas, I was really starting to feel really tired, and so I even stopped earlier than I had planned to, because I was like, okay, anything I'm going to do in this energy is not serving anybody, not me, not anybody that I do anything for. So I just stepped back earlier, and it was the best thing I did. Now I'm, because when you step back and feel, my thing is, when I feel like that, I go to the beach, or I hang out with the kids, we get a paddleboard and stuff, that just revives me. And or I write, or I just sit and watch Netflix for a day, I do that, but it just fills me up. And then I'm raring to go, and really wanting to get back at it. And when I get back at it, I knock it out of the park in a third of the time than I would if I was struggling with that kind of a mindset. Whereas, if you go and recharge yourself, have that amazing buzz around you to put into energy, to put into what you're doing, that serves better.
I'm intrigued by, you mentioned there even the water a couple of times. Is that a bit of a go-to place for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's funny because I only realized recently, I remember always saying, I want to live beside the sea. I want to live beside the sea. I want to live beside the sea. And only like I've been here now 12 years, and we settled quite close to the sea. We jump in our car and it's 5 minutes down the road. We could even cycle there in 5 minutes if we wanted to. But it's just so beautiful. The water does, just something really calming for me. And it's beautiful blue water here. But I remember going to Bundoran. I love Bundoran and Snarla. Used to go there and I used to love going to the seaside. It was always that getaway. And I think that's, and I do remember saying, I want to live beside the sea, but I always thought it'd be Bundoran. I didn't think it'd be Australia. Waikiki, Australia.
Well, you got the sunshine and you got the blue water, so you're doing all right. That's not a bad compromise.
Yeah, it's a bit hot at the minute though, Pete. We're going through a heat wave. You see the sweat, it's like, yeah, even cooling down at night time. I'm not complaining. It's just hot.
I mean, you talked about a plan there. I mean, do you forward plan, or do you just go with the flow? I mean, you talked about the plan of the house and by the sea and all that. Is that still on the board?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When that's right. I had a vision board last year, and there's only one thing that didn't happen. And that is because I chose for it not to happen yet, because I don't want it to happen yet until I'm ready. And it could have happened because it was presented, the opportunity was presented to me, and I chose no, not yet. And that's the thing, we can choose when things happen for us. But I don't do goals, but I don't just float around either. I'm a businesswoman, so I set intentions, and I'm just about to release The Miracle of Intention. And Gary Doherty actually wrote for that as well. So he's got a piece in my next book. And this is book 3 of the Life Magic series. And this is The Miracle of Intent. And whenever you set an intention, it's different than a goal. A goal, you'll have it planned out. You'll have things that you're going to do to achieve that goal, and so you will be preoccupied with ticking all of those boxes to get to that goal. I don't like to wait in line, Pete. I like to set an intention, put that out into the universe and say, I'm committed to that intention. Now, it does come with risks. And I wrote about this in my second novel, The Wish Giver. It's kind of like, be careful what you wish for, because you may just get it, but just not how you expect, And one of the things I've come to learn when I set big, huge intentions, when I started business, I said, I want to build $1 million press. That's my intention. And I'm open to how that's going to happen. And I could never have planned that route. But yet, in a few short years, I thought it'd take me 25 years. And within 5 years, I did it, because I was open. But I was also courageous. And I'm really in tune with my knowing, because and that's one of the other things I'm like, people have forgotten how to know, they go outside for all the answers. The answer's within you, and then you go outside to support it happening. You know the answer yourself. Why let somebody else have that power? But so for me, I own that power. I set an intention, and then obviously lots of opportunities start coming, and I've always got my peripheral vision on, so I can see opportunities coming from all around, not just the ones that I imagine happening. And I identify opportunities that can get me there faster. So, but one of the ways that I work is I say, okay, there's a nice opportunity. Is that aligned with my intention? And if it's a yes, then I action it straight away. I have the courage to just grab it then, because if I don't, somebody else will. Okay. So it takes courage, and quite often there's a financial thing there, or there's, a commitment of some sort, or there's something there that could be a block. But if it's aligned with where you want to go, you action it straight away, and you have that courage because you've already committed to the intention that you've set. But if it's a or a no, you need to say, just dismiss it straight away, because it's just a distraction. Then it's going to lead you off and dilly-dally you around, and you're not going you're going to take you longer to get to where you need to go. So I pretty much see those things now. I don't take too many detours unless I choose to, but I enjoy the journey to it. Enjoy the journey of setting an intention and getting there, just seeing where you go. And because the journey itself, so many amazing things happen on it. And they're all experiences, they're all an adventure of sorts. And then people that you meet and the connections, and it's just amazing. I just really thoroughly enjoy the journey and meeting new people. I love it.
I'm slightly struck. Your language changes depending on whether you're future pacing or whether you're present. So
Mm,
in the present, you're very kinesthetic. That's the
okay.
language that I hear anyway. In the future, you're very visual. So you see
Oh, probably.
your intentions, you see where you're going, etc. There's a lot of seeing stuff. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. I do love hanging out in the present and embracing every day and what the adventures of each day and what each day holds. But each day always moves me forward. But yeah, I set intentions are future things, but they are in a realm of I see them. I can call it a quantum realm. I'm just going to call it that. But it's out there. You're putting it out there, and it's an actual frequency, it's an energy, and it starts to shift things in your life. So I also be careful, because usually I do a life declutter every 6 months, I'm aware of, because if you're evolving very fast and growing very fast, lots of things don't serve you like they did, so you need to shed them. Say, I'm so grateful. It's not usually people, it's usually things or resources or whatever. Just you're not going to put time into that anymore. So just shed it. Don't let it linger there and hang in the back of your mind or whatever. Shed it, declutter it, get it out of your life. Just like you would come into a room and declutter. Just declutter. It just clears space in your mind. And as I say, when you're full and you've got so much happening, and you want an intention, you set an intention. Like, how can the magic come in if you're like that? But when you start to open up and start letting the light of the magic in, then there's room for it in your life, so it's amazing what happens. And when when you do that, when you declutter and make room, and don't just fill it up with anything, let it fill up with the wonderful things that you're going to attract into your life and that are aligned with where you want to go.
In hindsight now, or where you're at, how would you have stretched Mini Karen back in the day,
Mm.
or how would you have dealt with her?
Oh my God, Minnie Karen is exactly who she needed to be for me to be who I am now. God, really and truly inside, I've always honored, I don't have any issues with a lot of people have things about their younger self and stuff. My my inner child is still with me and will always be with me. She's not going anywhere. I love having fun, and I love enjoying life, and I put that into everything I do. Everything I do is with loving intention, but I have the same person inside me now as I did when I was a child, and she's not going anywhere. She's along for the whole journey. A lot of people disconnect from their inner child as they grow up, and I think that's so sad, But they end up finding their way back there before the end of their lives. Usually, it's funny whenever you see older people and they're like not giving a crap anymore and just going for it and stuff, But I'm like, you could have been doing that all of your life. Why just go back to it now? But usually that's because of families and how you've been brought up and things like that. Like my kids, I adore them, but they are just, each of them are different. They're all given the freedom to discover who they are. That's the thing. And I think, but with boundaries, that keep them safe and let them know, that this is how we do things in our family. But they also know that they have, they're able to make choices, and, they're showing how to make choices and things like that. So that's how I nurture them, to have them grow. Because that's what I was gifted. I was gifted the freedom to explore life and to find myself. So I knew myself pretty young. And then I became really enlightened, and I went through a big, like, spiritual transformation. And I remember it happening because I was writing articles for a website at the time called Building Beautiful Bonds. And that was just before I wrote my novel. And all of those articles, they were actually picked up and put in magazines, and they were put in, it was amazing. They were read 56,500 times. And like, this was before Facebook, you know? It was so funny. Like, whenever you think before Facebook, you think, wow, that was ages ago, but it wasn't. That was like, what, 11 years ago. And we even had an online community that wasn't on Facebook. It was on the Building Beautiful Bonds website, and we used to hang out in there. But people really connected with what I was sharing. And so when the website shut down because of Facebook, many years ago, um, I ended up pulling all of the articles off there and putting them into a book called Heart Notes. Like, I could not write that book now because I wrote it as I was going through something, but people who read it when they're starting to, go down that path themselves, they're like, wow, wow, I really can. And yeah, come and see me. This is where I am now 10 years later. So come on, just keep going with it and enjoy the ride. It's amazing.
What triggered that? I mean, you talk about it being a big emotional shift, or and enlightenment. I think the word you mentioned. So, I mean, was that just you needed to write something? Was that a sort of a need for purpose, but actually the consequence was different?
Well, I think it was it was a circumstantial thing. I found I was always very involved in my family. I loved my family. There was no way in the world I would move to the other side of the world from them. No way in the world. I adored my family. I was always present every day. So my days were always very full. So I didn't have that much time to explore things. And then all of a sudden, I found myself in Australia. Yes, with 3 children, but with some time to get to know and just to explore things and express things, and just allowing myself freedom to see where it went. And I think there's something happened when I landed on soil in Australia. There's just something shifted in me. And I knew I was exposed, like it was against all rational thinking that I can here. And somebody asked me something earlier today, and I was like, I waddled my way to Australia because I was 35 weeks pregnant with my third child, and we knew nobody here. We had 2 nights in a motel on the Great Eastern Highway booked, and that was it. Like we got off a plane at 6 a.m. in the morning, in Perth, Western Australia. The sun was shining so bright, and the hotel sent us a taxi to bring us to the hotel, and that was it. That was what we had. We didn't even have a car or anything. But it was and we hadn't slept because I was not allowed to sleep. I had to get up and walk every hour on the plane. So it was a really interesting trip. but but I knew there was this knowing, like it was totally irrational. I was 35 weeks pregnant. We just finished building a house as well. We just finished building a house. We locked the door in this brand new house and came to Australia. But I never ever seen it as a risk, or I never ever seen it as something I wasn't supposed to do. I was exactly supposed to be doing that exact thing at that time. There was just this feeling. I never even second guessed it. It was very emotional going to the airport and saying goodbye to loved ones and stuff. But it's still, I knew, and conventionally, like if you look at it from a conventional, it was the most irrational thing. It's like insane. Like you look back on it now, and you go, you're 35 weeks pregnant. You just finished building a house. What the hell are you doing moving to the other side of the world? Be happy with it, but it was I don't know, it just had to go, and it was hard to leave, like me and Emma are just so close, we're so close, and yet I turned off and walked away and went to Australia. We said we gave it 2 years, and 2 years felt like 2 months, it was crazy. But yeah, it was the best thing ever. So I never regret that.
Why Australia? Why not America? Why not anywhere?
Yeah, America never appealed to me at all. I remember, I think we were watching Wanted Down Under. Wanted Down Under has a lot to answer for. One of my friends here actually did that show, which was funny. So she actually ended up coming out here after she done Wanted Down Under. But we yeah, and even to come to Western Australia, because most people go to Sydney or Melbourne, but I'm so glad we came to Western Australia. And it's not that it's family oriented. Like whenever we came here, it was like going back in time. It was like we went back in a time warp, like pantries and old, the shops didn't open on a Sunday. And there's so many things that were so 10 years, 20 years before in Ireland, But now, like, whenever you look at what's happened here in the past 10 years, it's amazing. Like, it's really up to speed. Like, it's even got your 24-hour shops now. It's like, it's really interesting. But yeah, it's you do things differently here. You get used to it. And even like I speak so much slower now because I'd speak on stage, and if I didn't speak slower, people just wouldn't understand me. That's the thing. But it's a thing that you don't do consciously. You just end up doing it. So yeah.
I love it. Do you ever see yourself leaving, or is that you there for the foreseeable anyway?
Oh well, I wanted to go home a few years ago. But whenever you've had children and they've, this is their home. Like for example, this year it was so hot about a month before Christmas, and my daughter says to me, "Oh, Mom, it's getting really hot now. It feels like Christmas." And I was like, "No, no, that is not Christmas. Christmas is coldness and dark nights and lights, and because they haven't experienced an Irish Christmas, and we were supposed to be in Ireland right now." We were supposed to fly over there on the 22nd of December, but we've had to postpone it to next year. But I was like, no, that's not. But then I had to stop and be mindful and realize that's what Christmas is for her, and that's what her memories are going to be, and that's okay, and it's just funny. It was just a big realization for me. I was like, because I've always pined for, because on a 40-degree day, you do not cook turkeys in your kitchen, so I haven't had a turkey dinner. Well, I did one year and we couldn't even eat it because we were like starving, you know. And so this year we embraced the Aussie way, and kids got up very, very early. Santi came, and then we went to the beach. We went to the beach three times that day. And one of the cafes, my daughter says, you really are fascinated by that, aren't you? Because one of the cafes was open up at the beach, giving out free coffees and food, and you know, for the homeless people and stuff. And I was like, that's good on you for getting up on Christmas Day and doing that for the community. It was so beautiful to see. Mm.
Oh, it's great. It's lovely what people do, isn't it? But it's amazing that whole change, that, different cultures. It's lovely too, You know,
Yeah,
here we
it
pray
is.
for snow on Christmas, and there it's, I don't know what you pray for. You pray for a clear day.
What happens though, Pete, to our family, I have brought my kids home 3 times now. Every single time, whenever we leave, it snows the next day. When we leave, we have missed snow every single time by one day. And I'm like, come on, come on, just let us hit the jackpot. My kids would love to build a snowman. Instead, we are building sand men on the beach on Christmas Day with little shells. It's funny, but that's just life, and that's how we experience it. And I love making memories. Like this year, we always have one thing that we do in the summer holidays that everybody loves doing together, because whenever got like my kids are from 5 to 24. So whenever you've got such an age range, you want something that everybody likes doing. But this year our thing is to go up and hire a paddleboard, and you will see me walking up and down, not out in the ocean. I go up and down, and my 4 girls are standing on the paddleboard, jumping off and screaming and having the best fun. And that's memories. It's so much fun.
We're not getting you on a paddleboard then.
Oh, I've been on it too. They've pulled me. Oh yeah, no, I absolutely, I'm into. Yeah, they do it more.
Tell me this, what's your core values?
Love and kindness, absolutely. Everything I do is through loving intention. I'm not saying I'm any saint. I'm really and truly not. But I always try to find a solution for people. That's the best positive outcome possible. You know, I'm not saying I don't growl at my kids if they're naughty and stuff. I'm not really, but I like to stop and let them, understand why it's not okay to, and just to understand why mum does not like you doing that and make it grumpy, because, let them understand why, don't just do it and leave them hanging with little tears. This is why this happened. But yeah, to be really, just to be kind, and because there's so much harshness in the world. Like I just, as much as, if anybody who knows me online, I just show up authentically, and I just be positive online. That's where I hang out. That's where I'm just me. If I don't feel like posting, I won't be posting. There's no strategy whatsoever, because I'm just going to. But I do run a 365-day gratitude challenge in my group. We started last year before COVID, and we kept it going the whole year. And it was amazing how every single day everybody across the world was brought back to gratitude, even on the really crappiest days during COVID. So I know that really helps. So we're going to keep that going again this year, because if you're grateful, if you, no matter what's happened, there's always something to be grateful for in every day, even if it's only tiny. And when you focus on gratitude, that's a high vibrational energy, and it helps you to lift your spirits to, because whenever, like I like to keep in a high vibe, I consciously, I put a lot of energy into keeping maintaining a high vibe lifestyle. It's just because that's what I choose, and I love being positive. I love seeing the bright side, but I love solving problems. Somebody said to me, you should be politician or something, because you are a problem solver. You always find um, solutions to problems that other people don't see, and I love that about myself, is that I'm able to just see differently sometimes than others, to see the solution and go, oh yeah, it's probably back to my maths days where I got that solution in the elevator that nobody else seen. And it's fun.
But that's, I mean, it's even going back to, mental health, creativity, that actually you're able to sew your way through it and actually see, whether you see patterns or solutions long before anyone else, which is quite something.
Um, one thing I didn't tell you about was I had a full year where I won a scholarship to, well, not so much a scholarship, won a placement on this program to 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 learn how to teach community drama. And it was with Smashing Times Theatre Company in Dublin. And for one full year, every month, for a whole weekend, we went to a new location all around Ireland. It was a peace building thing. We were being trained to go out into the community and host drama workshops to help people heal and build, between the community. I absolutely adored that course. We showed up every month, different locations, the most amazing locations. Like, we had some really good ones, and amazing people in the group as well. I was the life and soul of the party, I have to admit. I was what, 27 or something at that time. So yeah, but we really had we learned a lot, and I ended up then working with East Tyrone College as a drama tutor with them, and I would go um into out centres, daycare centres, and mental health ones, but also learning difficulties. People that are in wheelchairs and paraplegics and things, and have them put on a play. And oh my goodness, that was really tough work, but it was so rewarding. I would pop in for 2 hours and just lighten up their day. And they loved me coming in, and then they put on a play, like what the ability they have, and how you can even see it in there. It was just amazing. I was like, wow, there's such an amazing insight to life to just see that. So that was another part. That's another thing I got to have experience.
It's a beautiful thing to be able to. I mean, it almost sounds like a superpower, if you like, to be able to go in and see that and help other people see it, or help
Mm,
them just to unleash there. I mean,
yeah.
you mentioned intuition earlier. I mean, is that something? Do you tend to see potential in people, or do is it a sense or a feeling, or how does that work with you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I always see potential in people, even if they don't see it in themselves. And it's back to that beauty and belief. But I remember there was a time when I did not believe that I could write a book, and here I am sitting, I've written and published over 30. I'm in the middle of writing two at the moment, and that's it's just part of my tapestry of life now. I just write. It's something I do that I love. But I'm not saying that writing is for everyone. But whenever you discover that one thing for you, and then to be able to support myself on that. I had such an amazing year financially last year, like wow, like to be able to do that, I was just so proud of myself. But to also not change as a person, because I'm still the same person sitting here talking to you um than I was this time last year, and I've just had such an amazing year financially, and that's the thing. But it's giving back, I show people, like I have a publishing academy. And the reason why I created my publishing academy is because that's what I needed whenever I started out in my authorship journey. So I pop in there and I share everything. There's no secrets. Anything I discover in the publishing industry, it's like, God, guys, did you know about this? And there's been 8 publishing houses come out of my academy. So it's kind of like one of those best kept secrets. I don't tell too many people about it, but I've started to, because I've seen the results that people have through this amazing community. And it's a Facebook group, but we've also built out a members hub where all of our videos are there. We've had some epic guests in there, industry leaders coming in and sharing their knowledge on how to do um, publishing as well. And it won an award as well. It came second place in a digital innovation award as well, because I didn't follow anybody else's program. I just created my own. I get inspired by others, but I don't copy people, because it's just, I like to be innovative. It's just, it excites me to create something new. I love doing that. That's just, you know, seeing where those boundaries are. There's none really, actually. You just keep going.
Do
There's
people
no
get you in
boundaries.
general?
Um, I don't like that some people look up to me. I don't feel like that kind of. I'm not. I'm comfortable being, leading the way. But people are coming along with me. You know what I mean? It's not that I'm head of something that people have to listen, and that's not how I roll. It's like I'm happy to go and put myself out there, take all the risks and see what works and share with you how I did it. That's just how I roll. And people say to me, "You actually train your competition?" I'm like, I do not believe in competition. I don't believe in competition. We all, there's other publishers that I will connect with and collaborate with, and I train publishers all the time, and I don't do publishing like the big, well, I do with Serenity Press. Serenity Press is my traditional press. And so it's the one that I set out to be the $1 million press. And now it is. And so it's amazing that that happened, So now we get to grow, just keep growing it and building the partnerships in that and really, being that dream that I had envisaged for that, but also then with KMD Books and MMH Press and my Everything Publishing Academy is like how is giving people that stepping stone, and people invest in themselves, but I'm joining them on the journey. It's not just about having a book in their hands, I'm joining them on the journey to get out there. So I always give more, I give so much of myself for every author.
That's a beautiful way to be. I mean, that's, that, as you say, a non-competitive environment. It's just, it's there. And, I know since we spoke before, you were incredibly generous with your time and knowledge, and some of the things that's going on for me, which is, it's unusual. It's beautiful. It's also unusual, which makes it so special in itself.
Such a pity because, you know, um, there's room for us all in the world. We don't need to compete. Some people love competing, and that's fine. That sustains them and ticks their box and makes them, it's one of their values and stuff, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with a bit of healthy competition, but that's not how I roll. I do win a lot of things, but like I won the Osmo Entrepreneur of the Year this year. That was a huge bucket list, and I was so proud of that. I won Women Will Change the World as well, but I don't do these things for me, for my ego. I get these awards so that I can be more visible, so that I can do more for my authors. So it's not just for me, but I'm proud of them all the same. But it's for the, to create the awareness of what we do.
I love that. I mean, yeah, it's such a giver's, a giving attitude, I suppose. Tell me this: do your kids play cards?
No, I haven't showed them yet.
Is smoking on the
Clean me
bus?
out. No, definitely not. Listen, I give up smoking for my kids, so they're dare they even try.
What's a guilty pleasure for you?
Writing.
Mm,
Writing is my vice.
mm.
I take that time for me. Writing fills my cup. Writing is my meditation. Writing is that. And then to be able to be productive in that and actually produce books and to have that rhythm, when you find your rhythm in life, it's the most beautiful thing, because I just set an intention, right, I'm going to write this novelette. Now, a novelette's 10,000 words. Like if I really set an intention, I could write that in a weekend and then just go over it, send it to my beautiful editor, and then I can have a book the next week if I wanted, if I set that intention. But that's because I have a beautiful rhythm happening, and that momentum going, and I can make that happen for me really fast. But and that's why, like with production schedules and everything are really important for books, but what's most important is honoring the journey of a book and honoring the stories and not, jeopardizing that to, sometimes, people expect it to get out, fast, whereas I can do it for myself. But then I've also published people really fast as well and got them out there, and um, within a few weeks, that's fine, because if that's where they're at and they need to get out into their community, I've had some really great success stories, but the success stories that I really adore are the people who didn't see it in themselves to write and publish a book and then have the dream of holding a book in their hands. I never get tired of that first time for anyone, because I know what that was like, you know. It's so, some people sleep with their books when they come in through the door with a proof copy. So yeah, and because I had a negative publishing experience, I've had a few people who I didn't harmonize with, who just didn't get me, who were probably frustrated and aggravated by my positivity, and always, you know, and I should never have been their publisher, but who had negative journeys because they had so many blocks in their lives. But I was steadfast. I stuck with on the journey with them, no matter how much, you know. I did. They ended up loving me anyway in the end, because I'd be like, we are getting through this. This is a block. You need to. This is a challenge. It's not a block. It's a challenge because you need to evolve into something next. There's a step you have to take to be what you want to be. So have the courage to, and I'm here to hold your hand through it, you know. How lucky are you? And by the end, they've seen that, because hindsight's a wonderful thing when they can look back. But when you're going through it and you've put your heart and soul into a book and things start to go wrong, it's a really hard thing to go through. It's really, you know, it's just, it takes, you know, it takes a lot out of something. But I don't abandon anybody on that journey.
It's a beautiful thing, yeah. I mean, to take them through, and as you said, it's a pivotal moment for their journey, for, as you say, holding a book and doing everything all together. So it's quite something. And does it get emotional? I would imagine it would do.
Oh my God, I've had people ringing in tears, or, you know, just crying, you know, in both, that because it's just too much for them to writing the book, that is bringing up a lot of things for them. So then I have to guide them through that and just explain where they're at. And once they have that understanding, because with knowledge eradicates, you know, it gets rid of fear, because it's the fear of the unknown. That's where the fear comes from. But when you know where it's coming from, and you know the source, and you know that you have the power to move through it, then I give them back the power, and then it's amazing that they find the fire in their belly to get through it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I love the way the title, you know, it's all comes together. What I had to laugh slightly because generally guilty pleasures, people talk about chocolate, wine, any of the above. But for you, it's creativity and it's love. It's back to such a core thing for you. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm not going to say that I didn't have times in my life when wine was a great guilty pleasure, but it's just not worth it now, because, you know, kids get you up so early, and, you know, it's just not worth it. So I don't go down that avenue at all. And I was pregnant and breastfeeding for a whole 11 years of my life, Pete. So I, you know, kind of got out of it did floor me. I got out of the rhythm.
Yeah,
You had have asked me that in my 20s, you would have got a different answer, you see.
I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, that's sort of around the age of 30 odd, you know, when that sort of shift changed. I mean, who are we looking at, you know, when you're in your 20s? What sort of, you know, what was Karen like then?
Wow, I was so ambitious. Like, I was about to I was going on television, you know, I was all of those kinds of things. I was about to go on tour with a play as well. And then I found out I was pregnant. So that just didn't suit the character. So I didn't go on tour. But then there was an incident that happened in my home, and it was a personal incident that happened between my brother and my partner. But like, and I've been in many fights in my lifetime. I've watched many fights, but this one, whatever had happened, it just, I remember lifting up out of my body and going beside myself. There was an actual physical, and it was just like, I remember just feeling beside myself. And that was the start of PTSD for me. Luckily, Pete, luckily, I knew, because I had worked in mental health, so I understood what was happening to me. I didn't fear it. I didn't like it at all, one bit. I did not like it, but I didn't fear it. I knew what I needed to do to get through it. Like, I had like the tunnel vision. I'd shake when I think about it, but I understood that I had to stop, you know, to not go outside, to come inside of myself, and I did, and I was in it was like for over a year. I was very insular, But what I discovered was, and I got my wake up call, which was a double miscarriage. Like that shook me to my core. And it was a very prolonged, horrific, horrible miscarriage over 2 long weeks. Like, I had what I thought was a miscarriage, went to the hospital, and there was still a beating baby in there. It was alive, and I seen it on the screen. So I'd lost one, but there was still one there. So I went and I lay for, what seemed like forever, and prayed that it would stay. And because my mother had had the same, and her baby survived. And that wasn't me; it was Emma. But I lost it. I remember the moment that I lost it. I felt it. I know and that was just heartbreaking for me. But I cried. I cried tears for those babies. But I cried for the year I'd lost, because that whole year I felt nothing. I was numb. I'd never felt anything. I had no emotions whatsoever. I was just not me, because I'm a very, I love everything, and all of that kind of thing, and have a zest for life. I didn't for that year. But what I discovered that was really fascinating was that in that year we made the decision to come to Australia. So that I would never be here had I not gone through that. Um, but one of the things was, whenever I look back, like that wake up call got me back on the right track, and everything started to go good again. It just started. It's as if life just started to flow. We got our visas for Australia. We moved to Australia. We finished the house. We got married. All of these things. It was just one of those years where everything happened, whereas before nothing had happened. But what I discovered was that I started to really think very wise thoughts. I started to think more openly and more philosophically. And I was doing a writing course at the time with the Writers Bureau, and like I did not even know what the word philosophical meant. I had to go to the Google and find out what philosophical meant, because she said, "You're a very philosophical writer," and I'm like, "That's philosophical." So I had to go and Google So, but I know that I am, but in my own way. I have my own philosophy on life, and I honor that. And people want to know what that is, and that's why I write those books. Share it through there.
I mean, back in your 20s, did you know yourself? Because you talked about how key that is to know yourself, or is that something that's come later on?
Oh, I knew myself. I did, but I never knew what I wanted to do. I didn't know my purpose. And it was because I had never, and it's funny because I'd had started, I bought the Writers Bureau course and started, but I was always so busy with working, or with studying, or with, there was always, or with family. And I was a young mom as well. I loved hanging out with my son, that was one of the things. Um, so yeah, and in my 20s, I was a single mom for a long, long time, because like even though me and my partner split up, we're still friends, and we still had children and stuff like that. And that was totally fine. But then, yeah, come to the later part of my 20s, I fell in love again. So then that's, you go into that kind of a whirlwind, so it just brings you on a different trajectory, I suppose, in life.
Oh, it's always, yeah, it's that sort of, being aware of yourself, as you say, and there's so many people that don't or aren't aware of that. So it's always interesting. And
Being me, Pete, I was always happy enough with who I was. I was always satisfied enough. But one of the things before I kind of woke up to, like, I always avoided contentment. Contentment was like, whoever wants to just be content, like how can you just be content like that? That was like a swear word to me, please don't say the C word. Contentment was a no, I'm so content, but I'm also ambitious, but I'm also, so it's I don't see it as a bad thing. It's funny how perspective changes.
so tell me, when is it a good time to get you involved, and when is a good time to get you out of the room?
Yeah. After a few glasses of wine before I start dancing on the tables. No, it's funny because I work in all time zones, so I can just switch things on and off anytime, so I just, whatever I'm whatever I choose to be in, I have the luxury, and it is a luxury. I never, ever, ever take it for granted to be able to live life my design. I've designed my life, and so I'm really lucky that I've got a team that works for me. So publishing always happens, because I've got a team of amazing people working. But I worked hard to get to that point where I can just step back, and everything can still happen. So that's something that I feel really lucky to be able to achieve, in a few years.
It's a great way to have it. So tell us, I mean, if you were to describe then your fire in the belly in 1 or 2 words, what would that be?
Describe what?
Your fire in the belly in 1 or 2 words.
In 1 or 2 words? Are you kidding me? That is really impossible. So my fire in my belly it's really adventurous. I'm up for an adventure. If it piques my interest, if it's something I feel and I commit to. If I say yes to something, I'm in. I'm in. I'm all in. And I'm absolutely incredibly loyal. I don't abandon anything. That's it. I just don't. And it stands to me, so it also gets me tied up in things sometimes. But as you grow, as you evolve, as you get older, you can identify, where you need to be at certain times and what you need to say no to as well. So I was always a yes person. Yes, yes, yes. But I cannot possibly be a yes person now. I have to be, because it's not just for me and being selfish that I have to say no. I have to say no for the people, because they're not going to get the best me. Because if I'm not interested in it, they're not going to get me. They're going to get just whatever's left of me, because they're not going to get all of me, because they'll be distracted with something else that I'm really passionate about.
Oh, I love it. It's a great way of really sort of getting it out there. To be honest, what is something you're really proud of? I mean, through your years, what stands out?
Motherhood, absolutely. Motherhood, 100%. That's the best thing ever. And I had 6 children naturally. That's what I'm very proud of. So yeah, we're not going into all of that, but yes, that, and also answering my calling, having the courage to do life, because I have made some good. Somebody said to me recently, Karen, you are one of the most fearless people I know. And I'm like, there's no fear in knowing, my friend. When you know and you trust your knowing, you have faith in your knowing, and that you're so connected with that internal compass, you can't go wrong ever, because you know exactly where you need to be at any time. I'm glad I've reconnected with my knowing.
And tell me, would you recommend any good books?
Oh my God, have you got all day? Have you got all day? I will share with you where I kind of started, my brain started to open up to endless possibilities. And that was with, obviously, The Secret, but also with Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. And it's comes the DVD and stuff like that, but it's a gentle way of realizing the energies that we actually have the power and control over in our lifetime, but also the health implications. So if you have an ailment, like, for example, I had a sore tummy yesterday. It wasn't just a sore tummy, it was a really horrible pain. So I was like, right, what's going on with me? What's the root of this? So I'll go to my Louise Hay book and I will say, stomach pain, this is why. And I go, okay, that's the spiritual reasoning for stomach pain. And there's an affirmation beside it. So I'll start really, and I'll say the affirmation and I really mean it. And the stomach pain will go away. But I will also take 2 painkillers, but it won't come back again. You know what I mean? So, because I do believe in medicine. Medicine was created out of somebody's love for healing people. So, I absolutely adore what medicine does, because, without that, so many people would not have the quality of life that they do and the longevity of life that they do. But I also believe in doing what we can as human beings to lessen that, and to also heal ourselves, because our minds are very powerful as well, you know. Like, for example, when if the child is hurt, is a mother's hug and love not the most healing thing ever, you know? When you stop, you lift that child up and you give them the biggest hug, suddenly that pain's gone away, you know? That scratching the graze on their knee doesn't hurt so much. Whereas if you didn't do that, you know, it's going to hurt them for a bit longer and stuff. So it's amazing, those little kinds of things. And that's a mum projecting her healing energy onto her child, you know, to help them heal. And there's so much that people don't understand, and probably out of fear of not wanting to go there. But if we just do, each of us do our little bits for ourselves and for our loved ones, it's amazing what can happen. Because the science is there to back it up if you ever choose to look at it. You know, it's amazing as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. Tell us, where can people reach out to you or find you, follow you, track you down, stalk you, any of the above?
Yeah, please don't. Please don't stalk me. Listen, you can call. I love meeting people. I love connecting with people. You know, I love new connections and getting to know new people. I'm always on Facebook. Facebook is my main place because I get to just hang out and be me. It's where you see me just being me. I'm on LinkedIn as well. But I have a few businesses as well. So I've got KMD Books, is where I publish my thought leaders and my innovators and my business owners, and that's really taken off this year, which is beautiful. We just brought in 2 new investors into that company, and it's just, I'm so excited. We're about to secure big distributors as well. So sorry, I've gone off track. So that's KMD Books. Then we've got MMH Press. That's where I publish my writings, is Making Magic Happen Press. You can find me there, or Serenity Press, and that's where I'm the publisher for the Sarah, the Duchess of York, as well as Kip Forsyth and Juliet earlier. You know, so that's just my fun press.
Brilliant. Share something with us that's on your bucket list. That's put the intention out there. What's there in the future?
Do you know what? I haven't done my vision board for this year, and I always do it at the end of January because I'm in a different mindset. I'm still in chilled out holiday mode, Pete. So, but I'll bring forward my final thing that I didn't do last year, which is to sit on the couch with Oprah. But that's because well, I'm not ready to like get my series done. When I get my series done, wait till you see that. So we'll see. I'll go with the flow. And this year is a lot about my authorship. So, you know, I'm still publishing lots of books. You know, I can do that in my sleep, you know, and I love connecting and helping authors on their journey. But my books and my own authorship is really important in my lifetime as well. And my all of the book covers keep adding to them. So they're sitting there queuing up to be written. So I'm going to have that fun in my life this year. There's going to be lots of time for writing.
That's an interesting process. So you get the book covers made up. You're saying you had 20 odd covers?
Yeah. It's just how because I visualize it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's there waiting to be written. And I'll often see a cover, and then a story will come into my head. You know, sometimes I will grab a pre-made cover, but quite often I have my designer. I give them a brief and say, "This is what the story is about," and then I'll have the visual of the cover there, and then, you know, work hard to get that book in my hands. And it never ever, like that time whenever you get that proof copy of your book into your hand, that never changes. Never, you know, that excitement when that's through the door. And even other people's books, I get really excited when that brown box starts to come in through the door. A new book being born, you know, it's like awesome.
It's a delivery in a different way. I love it. Oh, that's so good. So tell me, is there a final message you'd like to leave with people?
Oh my goodness, guys, just enjoy life. Get to know who you are and really own that with all of your being. You know, life is too short to be, you know, worrying about the stuff and things, but just find your way, own it and enjoy it. Because there's no limitations. You just got to choose what you want, and then let it happen, because and just be true to that. But just be mindful that you align with your values whenever you're a lot of people think that they want things, when they see what they have to compromise to get that, it's not, that's usually materialistic, and it's not usually worth it. So just make sure you're aligned with your values and what you really want to achieve in your life. And be honest with yourself, and have the courage to let it happen.
Well, make sure you say hi to Oprah for us when you meet her. Is there anything you want to ask her, or you just want to be in her presence?
No, I want to sit down and have a chat with her on our own show. Yeah, we'll see.
Go for it. Love it. Love it. Karen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much. Congratulations on all your successes and continued ongoing. So thank you until the next time.
Oh, thanks, Faith. You too. Take care.